What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Adam Finch Show. I am, of course, your host, Adam Finch. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I ended my last show on talking about how to be a pro and what exactly that means, at least to me. So, just for me, I mean, being a pro, I work in the construction industry. Being a pro to me is doing, what you should do. I've got this quote whenever I did speaking engagements, talked about how, true integrity is doing something even though nobody's going to see it. So you think about when we are renovating a house and, we're doing stuff like framing and insulating and vapor barriering, before you close up the walls, making sure that whatever you do is done up to code and above code if you can. I always like to make sure that whatever I do, I try to go above and beyond building codes. My basement walls, I do R20. I'll do rock wool insulation always, just to make sure there's no mold or moisture issues. Put a weather barrier against the concrete and the framing and the insulation, so you don't have any of that heat transfer and moisture transfer between products and whatever we use, and make sure that if it's a basement, we're using more things like vinyl plank flooring, or make sure that we're using some kind of vinyl underlayment, like a Delta flooring or a DMX flooring product, just to keep your finished product off the ground. So it's not on. So, to me, that's for me, that's what I think of when I say be a pro. I've worked for other contractors in the past and developers where they've taken money from the project you're working on. They're still trying to pay off another project or pay off people from the last project, and all of a sudden, when you get into those situations, you really need to. I know it sucks, but you really got to be honest and open and honest with that. So part of being a pro, being honest, open communication. Things happen, especially in the construction and real estate development fields. Things happen all the time. Sometimes unexpected, sometimes, poor management on your part, or, maybe you hired the wrong guy to do the work, and all of a sudden now you're way behind on the project and you're bleeding money, and, you don't know how to catch up. So you start borrowing from somebody else, and now all of a sudden you're delayed on payments, and it never goes good. I've been in those situations, and all of a sudden, we got to leave site, or the project is failing there. Also making sure that, if you're a contractor, for instance, I'll do a lot with construction and contracting because that's the field that I'm in, but, make sure you've got the proper insurances and the proper safety training, and you've taken out permits if permits are needed, and you make sure that the products you're using are exactly what was spec'd, and you're doing your best to make sure that you're putting the best effort forward always. I tell you a story. Back when I had my renovation company, I went to check out a bathroom for somebody, and it was just a 3-piece, a shower tub, a toilet, a vanity, and then there was a little linen closet. And they wanted to take the linen closet out and put the toilet where the linen closet was, so it's just opposite ends. So the basically you walked in and there was linen closet, vanity, you turned, and then the other wall was a toilet, and then your shower. And that backed onto the master bedroom. So what these people wanted to do is take that toilet, put it where the linen closet was, and then put a door to make kind of a cheater ensuite for this unit. So it wasn't too complicated of a job. The shower was staying exactly where it was. They wanted to take the tub out, replace the tub, and instead of the vinyl tub surround, they wanted to put tiles on the wall. The vanity, they were going to get a new vanity. It was probably like a 50-something, 60-inch vanity, nothing too crazy. And then obviously move the toilet, brand new toilet, new flooring, fix up the drywall around there, nothing too crazy. Down below, it was an unfinished laundry room down below it, so there were no major issues. And I took some pictures, sent it to my plumber. This is the best part. If you've got a plumber, electrician, basically on speed dial, I can take pictures of those and let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm going to the site tomorrow. I take pictures of it, send it to them, but before I even left, I already had an answer from them. Like, yeah, no problem, that's an easy tie-in. I can see, where I would tie in. They can even send me a quick sketch back And if they need some video, I can shoot some video. So the beauty, obviously, with technology nowadays is you can take all those pictures and videos and walk through, or even do a video chat with them, FaceTime with them. So just some rough numbers, just telling the person before I left, I said, okay, so you're looking at like $10,000 to $12,000 for this project, take about a week or two, depending on what, how everyone's time frame is. And the lady said, well, I would really like to keep it under 10. And I said, I can't promise you that it can be under 10 because we don't know right now what tub you're picking out, the toilet, the vanity, and your tile. So I said, you can get tile for $1 a square foot, you can get tile for $10 a square foot. So she's like, all right, well, leave it with me. And I said, just make sure that whoever you hire, they have all of this information. I don't care if you don't hire me, just make sure they have all this information. So I had my business license, I had proof of insurance, and I had all my safety cards. So, WIMIS, working at heights. I had my carpentry license. Just to make sure, just to let them know, like, hey, just make sure that whoever you're hiring a professional to do this. So we talk about being a pro, having all that. And I had it all ready to go in a file folder. There's all the information. I can show it to the person. And I've got pictures online of all past work that I did. So again, being a pro, you're available online. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So they don't call me back. About 2 weeks later, I see the lady posting on a Facebook group with the thing. It said, don't hire these guys. Aiden Benjamin and Associates, don't hire these guys. Look what they did to my bathroom. This bathroom was completely gutted, back to studs. Now, in a lot of cases, yes, I say take everything back to studs, but with the condition that this bathroom needed to be in, yes, we would have taken drywall out where the vanity was to rework the plumbing there, and obviously everything around the shower would have came out. But we didn't need the ceilings ripped out, and so the ceilings were completely ripped out, all the insulation's down, just a giant mess of a house. And now this is the only bathroom they had working in the house. So you imagine, and these people just moved into the house, they were doing some work on it. So now they've got this mess, and the guy basically ran away with their money. Now, she gave them an $18,000 down payment for this bathroom. So I don't know what the overall cost was supposed to be, but you could just see from her chats with everybody on what happened with it. So of course, first thing I do is I search up who is this company, and the only thing I can find is a fancy website with these fancy graphics and everything, but none of the links worked. I can't get to the Facebook, I can't get to their Instagram, and this was like 7-ish years ago. So technology, and social media wasn't as crazy as it is now, but like I had a Google page, I had a Facebook, and I had an Instagram page back then, all free to do. But you want to make sure that so this guy had nothing about that. And of course, then all of a sudden there's another person that gets into this chat because they're sharing it in this, big Kitchener-Waterloo Facebook group. And there's more people coming, hey, I got screwed by that guy as well. Hey, he still owes me, whatever. So this guy took everybody. And it's unfortunate because, there's hardworking guys out there, and they're putting in the effort and paying for things like insurance and all that. And unfortunately, I get it. You want something as cheap as possible, but there comes a point where there's a certain price you have to pay for a certain outcome. So in this case, unfortunately, this lady was, sold the world and didn't get what she wanted. She overpaid for what she should have been up. But there's a lot of time where contractors and homeowners, they'll always go with the lowest bid. And just because it's the lowest bid doesn't mean it's the right bid. And to say something, like, hey, we couldn't build this project if we went with the higher numbers. But the higher numbers were the accurate numbers, which meant, yes, the project should never have moved forward because the numbers don't work in this climate or in this scenario, or however you've designed the building, or how fancy. Sometimes people go crazy with finishes, and you want granite and marble and quartz and fancy arches and stucco and brick outside, concrete driveways, and maybe the project will work, but you got to go with just regular brick veneer. And maybe we don't finish that bathroom right now, and maybe we don't finish the basement off, and maybe outside we're just gonna do asphalt right now, or base asphalt, or maybe we won't do asphalt. There's different ways that you can, and and pros and quality contractors will do this for you, and they'll say, listen, it is $120,000 reno. If you only got $100,000 to do this, we're not going to do this, and this, and that'll get you down to the $100,000, right? We just change the scope, and you want to make sure that whatever you're doing right now is things that are important, and finishing off a basement, for instance. If all your cracks are taken care of, and you got your new hydro service in, let's say, and all your rough-ins for upstairs have been done, and then all your finishes are done, it doesn't take much for you can work your way at that and finish off that basement. You can also do it in stages. I've done that before. Let's do all the framing and insulating right now, and then next year we're going to do the floor, and we're going to do some cabinetry, and then finish off with drywall. So you can kind of phase it like that. But that way you still get your renovation mostly done, but you're making sure that you're not cutting any corners. And that's what happens all the time with this. Like I said, a developer or a big contractor, they take a job and someone missed something, maybe, generator, different gravel. Maybe they picked the wrong gravel, or they missed who knows what, right? Insulation, spray foam, all these miscellaneous things, and they all add up. Now, all of a sudden, you're stuck trying to get nickel and dime everybody, and all of a sudden you're nickel and diming people, and then you're trying to get in more low-end trades, and it just becomes a disaster. So just talking about that whole, being a pro and hiring pros and listening to the pros, let's say you're a developer, you hire a contractor on, but you want to still be contractor and run the job site. Let the pros do what they do best, and then everything will go smoothly. And if they tell you, unfortunately, your numbers don't work, and this, you have to change scope, or you got to change design, because forcing things to work and hiring the lowest quality trades, you will always run into issues. Every single time. And so that's what you need to make sure that you're doing, because you don't want your project to go south. You don't want to start something and then all of a sudden you can't finish it. Like I've seen that too, where people run out. And one of the biggest things, just talking about home renovations, one of the biggest things people forget about is setting aside enough money for the exterior. So cool, you've got this beautiful house inside, but you got no money to stain your bricks or change the siding or redo the flower beds or redo the driveway. So curb appeal is everything. Just simple cleaning up the gardens, putting down some mulch, couple hostas, a couple bushes, couple rocks down. Like I said, if you can just asphalt the driveway, if you're selling a house, flipping a house, just asphalt the driveway, and that way at least it's cleaned up. It looks modern outside. If somebody in the future wants to rip that out and put down concrete, then they can do whatever, right? But you've provided a nice quality finish, and you made sure that everything is done legally into code and exactly how it should be, because you didn't cut any corners, because you've got integrity. You want to be honest with everything, and you want to be a pro at whatever you do. I've seen situations as well with business partners, and people investing money into other people's projects. Let's say if we're on the real estate investing side of things, and not returning money, or not having communication, no honesty, and ultimately no integrity. And I like the quote about how how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're not open and honest, and you're not treating people with respect, the quote of "do unto others," if you're a religious person, but even if you're not a religious person, that's just a good quote. Do to others what you want done to yourself. So if you're being open and honest to people, and you're treating everyone with respect, and you're doing the right thing, then obviously, good attracts good. Bad attracts bad. So if you're putting yourself in these situations, you're in the right mindset about quality first, and making sure that what you're putting out there is the best of your ability. You'll have nothing but people coming into your circle that are of the same mindset, and so that's a big thing. Just the mindset of honesty and integrity and pride of what you're doing, and the pro mindset that we just talked about of I'm going to do whatever I do today. I'm going to do the best of my ability, and no shortcuts. I'm sure you people have seen these things online. Where it says, You show up on time for your boss, and you show up on time for your buddies, but are you showing up for yourself? Are you, you say you're going to go to the gym, but then you never go to the gym. That's always put off last. You say you're going to eat right, but then you never eat right. You say you're going to spend more time with your family. You don't spend more time with your family. You're too busy at work. So whatever you're promising yourself that you're going to do, make sure that you're doing it. Again, that's the whole pro mindset, the mindset of being better every day, taking one step forward every day, so that you're not you never want to go backwards, right? So learn a new skill every day. This is all just the mindset of being a pro, being honest, having the integrity, and be honest with yourself as well. Don't take those shortcuts with yourself. Sometimes I'm at the gym or something, and I'm just like, I gotta get four sets done, and then I get 3 sets done. I'm like, that's good enough for today. But really, I should be pushing myself, and then it shows too. All of a sudden, a couple weeks later, you're like, ugh, not in the shape I was, a month or two ago. And I'm like, well, actually, I was thinking that today. Like, well, I have been slacking, right? Like, I should have pushed for those extra sets. I'm not following the plan that I set out in place. So cool. I'm, at work. I'm being a pro, and I'm doing everything that I need to do there, and making sure that all the work's done. But then when it comes to my personal self, I'm not putting in the work that I should be putting in. And like I said, it shows. So yeah, that's a little bit what I wanted to talk about on this episode. Just the whole mindset, being a pro, living with integrity, and doing what's right, regardless of who's seeing it, and making sure that you're always putting your best effort forward. So, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. And be a pro.